Welcome, this is Needles, Pine Leaf Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO, and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Andang,
Hey, everybody.
Atheros,
Hey.
Draculetta,
Greetings, everybody.
and returning from her epic expedition, Sithrith.
Hello.
And our news for this week is that on Monday we have scheduled server time for the installation of update 14.2, the latest update for LOTRO. And Draculetta, could you tell us about this?
Well, I would love to, Pine Leaf. They have mentioned Monday morning from 6 a.m. until 1 p.m. That is Eastern Standard Time, which is server time. All servers will be brought down for, of course, as Pine Leaf said, update 14.2. Patch notes will be available during the downtime. I would assume not much has changed since the Bull Roar patch notes, but I guess we'll see. And we will have a post up, I am sure, on the patch notes when that happens. And hopefully it'll come back up at 1 o'clock. We'll see.
And I see from your article that you have a map of the dead marshes showing, so I presume that's what's going to be part of the update.
Indeed, that is the biggest part of the update is the Dead Marshes, which has quest and also a session play, which features some famous people, I'll put it that way.
Gandalf.
All right, very well. Now, is anyone looking for anything in particular for this update?
Preloader, mainly. They're putting in a mechanic for the launcher that will, that according to them, will reduce your login times quite significantly. And at least for my testing on Boror, it did. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Do you guys know if there's any new cosmetics? 'Cause that's
I
That's,
had not seen any. I know there's a new set of pets that are going to be frogs, but that's all I've seen.
all right. Well, I'll report back when the update goes live.
All right.
Let
you're
you
gonna
know.
find out. You're gonna find out every single cosmetic that's out there.
You betcha.
All right. Is anyone else looking for anything in particular?
Now I'm looking forward to Cithra's cosmetic report. That sounds awesome.
There you
All
go.
right. Anyone looking forward to the new pet interface?
The
Oh, yeah,
collections
me.
panel.
Yeah,
That's a thing.
it looks pretty cool. I really like how even if you don't own something, it shows it there, and you can actually see the actual like steeds and everything right there in game. It might put a lot of cosmetic blogs not out of business, but it'll start to worry them a little bit. But I think that it is a lot better for the game where they have that available right there for the player.
It is a
Inside the game.
well-structured interface,
Mhm.
talking about showing the actual thing, what it looks like, how to get it, and then giving you a title that when you have all of the set. It's quite well made. I'm not sure how much use they're going to get out of it, because obviously they have a tendency to ditch things after they get one step into it. But hopefully they
Like
stick with it.
Yada in chat mentions it's good for the completionists. And that's a big part of why I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Definitely
and
going to be
it's
very helpful.
and it's visual incentive. It's like, see this steed that you could get? It's just right over here.
Yeah. If you open a Hobbit present, you might get the skeleton steed, right?
Don't bring it up, finally.
Also, I suppose
All
there's
right, that's a
one
loot box.
thing
Sorry.
worth mentioning. I think this is the first deed type thing in Lotro that has things that require store purchases. Maybe. Like the class deeds, I believe, like they have a whole set that you need to buy from the store to get them, I think.
I have no idea, Tharos.
I don't know if there's
Oh,
a
okay.
precedent
Oh,
for
you
that,
talked about
but
the.
There, I
Yeah,
don't.
I presume they're possible. If there are deeds associated with them, then.
Yeah, this might be the first time, I guess.
I don't know whether you think that's a big deal or not, but at this stage it's probably
I think it's too early to tell. We'll see how it is online.
Yeah.
All
Just
right.
look at the forums and wait for them to blow up if people find that out, and then we'll see how big a deal it is.
Yeah, it's usually a good measuring stick.
Mm.
Yep.
Well, in any case, oh, that's right. Citrus is doing a completionist series, so therefore she needs to be able to get every
Mhm.
deed done, right?
Good
Yes.
luck with the Hobnobbigans one.
Noggins. Yeah, the festival ones are the ones I'm dreading the most, honestly.
All right, very well. Now, we also had a preview done by the staff at Turbine, and there is a transcript of that over in the forums. We do have a link for it in the show notes. And does anyone have any comments they wish to add from this, or
Most of it was just kind of a review from stuff we found on the beta server through our beta preview video. But they did mention something that I think is pretty interesting, which is the fact that they actually didn't originally have the Dead Marshes on the roadmap. But once they got to fleshing out Western Gondor, they decided that it might actually be a good idea to flesh this out and help us find out where Frodo and Sam was. So I found that kind of interesting. And then once they started building it, they were just building it for the session plays, but their artists built such a big area that they're like, this place is huge. We don't need this much. Why don't we just open it up to the players? So that's what allowed us to have an actual like landscape area. So it's pretty cool to that. I guess like the passion of the developers actually drove the this actually being a zone instead of just session plays. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Another big thing is the fact that the content in the Dead Marshes will be free to all players, which is the first time that's happened, I think, since maybe ever, but definitely free to play.
Big gap between this and the Lowlands.
yeah? Well, it's
Well, that's
probably
true. The Lonelands was probably the last thing we got for free. So
Outside the Epic, obviously. But yeah.
right, yeah, but actual
yeah.
landscape. So
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. Landscape
I
quests.
think this is almost like a semi-epic side stuff anyway.
This is like an
Yeah.
Entwood, but the Entwood was included with the expansion, so you still had to pay money to get it. So it's pretty
All
cool
right.
that they're making this for free to everybody.
Yeah. There isn't actually a whole lot of content, but just the fact that they just threw it to everyone and say, here, have it, is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a nice gesture anyway.
All right. Anyone else have any other comments on 14.2 before we go on?
I'm excited for it on Monday.
All right. Then when some of you people are probably going to be hearing this while you're waiting for 14.2 to come up. So if you have any comments on 14.2, just give a response to the episode and we'll hear what you have to say about it. And now we'll go on to our store sales. Draculetta.
Free sample of the week this week. Absolutely worthless. Universal Morale Potion times 5. If you would want it, I don't know why you would. You can use coupon code HEAL9, HEAL9. And as always, you get one of those per account, but don't bother with it. No point.
Well, certain
Um,
people in our adventures group could use them.
we could use a lot more than. Anyway.
We could
More
use
than
good
5.
players. That's what we need is good players.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm including
The
myself in that. This week's a
We
good example.
The sale this week is actually one of the better sales they've had for a while. 50% off expansion and expansion quest, and that does include Helm's Deep, Rohan, Isengard, Moria, and Mirkwood. You also get 20% off skirmishes and instances, enhanced XP supply, the token of the Hornburg, and mark an acquisition boost. Also, all throughout the month of September, they are doing the weekend only deals. So through September 14th, which would be tomorrow. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, once again, you missed out. People in the chat room, if you didn't know about this, now is your time to jump on this. 75% off of the Troll Shaw's Quest Pack, 50% off Ingmar Quest Pack, and 25% off West Gondor Quest Pack,
Hmm.
which does mark the first time the latest quest pack has gone on sale.
Mm.
Ooh.
All right. Very well. Thank you, Draculetta.
I have to say though,
Now,
these sales are amazing. This is the best sale that we've had, what, three
For a
months,
long
six
time,
months?
yeah.
I mean, it's been a long, long time. I mean, 50% off all expansion and expansion quests is crazy. And then to throw on top of that, 20% off skirmishes, and then you have the like shorter deal of the Troll Shots 75% off, Angmar 50% off, and West Gondor the new area at 25% off. This is crazy. I mean, great job Turbine on the sales this week. That's amazing. Try to spread it out more a little bit next time, but great job.
all right. Very well. Now we'll head on to the site news. And we'll begin with a question to Andang.
It's
Do Balrogs
not.
have wings?
It's not a question, Pineleaf. It's not a question.
Okay.
Of course they don't have wings, and if they did, then you better head to the CSTM Fallout shelter and bring a whole lot of pie. That's all I have to say. So this week we had a poll to find out how much of the community thinks Balrogs have wings, and this is because, including in LOTRO and every visual depiction, it does seem that they do have wings. It's a lot of controversy over this in the broader Tolkien community, whether they do or not. I personally think they don't, but I can definitely see why people think they do. And the winning vote by over, let's see, it's about 15% gap between this and the next one was yes, with 44% of the vote. And no followed with 29% of the vote. And then I decided to have a lot of fun with this. So the next option was Balrogs, sweet sassy molassie, head to the CSTM Fallout shelter and bring lots of pie. And that got 15%. And then let me check at 12%. So I had a lot of fun with this poll. Whether Balrogs have wings or not, it doesn't really matter that much. But it was interesting to see what our audience thinks, as I think that it's a pretty good indication of maybe the larger community as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Andang. And now we'll head on to our Lotro outfits, and we can have Sithrit present this herself. Welcome back,
Yay!
Sithrit. And what is this week's outfit?
This week's outfit is called Dwarven Bard, and it is, if not exactly the same, I think it's actually just very similar to a dwarf, uh, like minstrel outfit that I used to use when I had a low-level dwarf minstrel for a while. Sadly, he never made it past level 10, but this is kind of based on that. And while doing the outfit streams, somebody requested that I do a kind of light armor or traveling kind of dwarf outfit rather than a heavy armor or something like that. So this is kind of a light armor dwarven minstrel outfit. It's very brightly colored. It's lots of purple and gold. So if you like those colors, this is the outfit for you. And yeah, it's one of my favorite dwarf outfits. I'm not very good at dwarf outfits, but this is probably my best attempt.
All right, so this has nothing then to do about dragon slaying archers then.
No,
All right.
no.
Just checking. All right, now we'll head into the Lotro video highlights. And what is the highlight of the week, Andang?
Yes, well, basically, this is called The Drunken Hobbit, and it's done by the BBB. And if you don't know who the BBB is, watch this video, and you will understand very quickly the type of work that they do. And it was just a really fun video. I recommend everybody check it out if you want to see a lot of comedy and just general craziness. Probably even crazier than our bloopers usually, the BBB is. So if you haven't seen The Drunken Hobbit, be sure to check it out. It's pretty cool.
All right, thank you, Andang. And now we'll head into Lily Kate's contribution. Where's Tinky? The Black Pool. Yes, right. This time Tinky heads out to Moria, and we get to see her at the Black Pool. And As usual, we have our easy, medium, and challenge mode, but Billy Kate decided to up it a notch and also create a tier 2 and see if we could find Tinky in there. Now, has anyone actually found Tinky in tier 2 yet?
No, this is the first time I haven't been able to find Tinky.
Yeah, so Lily Kate really threw down a challenge this time.
I still think it's
And
behind the
she does
camera.
claim,
Yeah.
Tinky claims, I mean,
Tinky
Lily Kate
claims.
claims that
Well,
Tinky is in the shop.
Tinky claims really gives me confidence.
Hmm.
I I can't believe. I mean, it must be really, really shrunk down, or it's just not there, I think.
Or like only a small part of Tinky is visible, like a
Yeah.
Well,
very very
that's
tiny
a
part.
given because there's sometimes in the challenges there's only a small bit, like the time she was in the water.
Mm.
Spoiler alert.
That's not for
Yeah.
this one. That was an
Jeez.
older one,
Well,
and I didn't even say
also
which one it
spoiler
was.
alert.
Spoiler alert for any of the older ones. Now they'll always be looking in the water. If there's any water in the older ones, they'll know. And then they'll be like, "Ah, Pine Leaf spoiled for it for me. I knew it was gonna be there. Dang it."
Oh well.
But that's crazy that Pine Leaf wasn't even able to find it on his own difficulty. So that's
Yeah,
pretty hard.
that's intense.
Great job, Lilliput, if Tinky is actually there, and if he's not, great job anyway, because that's hilarious. So either way, great job.
Well, we will see. Perhaps Lily Kate will include the answer in when we have the next Where's Tinky. I'm sure she'll put up the answers to say where Tinky is. There are one or two places where I'm suspecting it, but I haven't been able to prove and say definitively this is where Tinky is.
That's funny.
All right, then we'll head on to last week's LOTRO Players Adventures, episode 31, The Rubber Band of Angmar. Anding, what's that all about?
Well, we finished up the Moria skirmishes, and we had a title that was called the Rubber Band of Angmar. And to
Okay.
find out what that title is, you have to watch episode 31 of Lotra Players Adventures and watch our fun times through Moria skirmishes. Because the Moria skirmishes actually are pretty fun, I think. It's just the
When you don't
instances that can be
DC
difficult.
doing half of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, minor little detail.
Or have dread throughout every single second, like today.
Oh
Damn,
yeah,
that'll be
there
good.
is trouble with dread.
Mm.
But we'll discuss that, I guess, at our next week.
Indeed.
Mhm.
So now we'll head on to the weekly poem. And this time we have a poem from sent by Aminhir of Rohan. And this is a poem dedicated to the Rohirrim, or Hail the Brave Rohirrim. Two set as one, the beast and man, come to heed the battle call. Unfaltering beneath the enemy barrage, up, upright in the saddle, mustering the charge. With courage extant, daring not to fall. The horse and rider, armor clad, weapon drawn, the quickening madness, the enveloping dark. Through blood and sweat, their resolve not Spartan. Tales of heroes' triumph, victories to hearken, as each volley meets its mark. Though light may pierce the shadow foes, their forces left shattered and spent. The fierceness of battle tallies the score, horse and rider asunder upon the moor. Their lives for freedom, the cost was met.
Awesome.
Mhm.
All right. And that's this week's poem. And I'm sure we'll have another poem, either by our brave correspondent or by someone who sends one in. So now we'll head on to news beyond LOTRO. And this time we are covering a wizard. Andy, what do you know about this wizard?
A lot of things, but I probably don't want to spoil it for our audience. But it tells the lore behind one of the wizards, and then it also talks about at the end just all the wizards in general. Um, Once again, a fantastic job. This is the continuation of E.E.Y.O.R.E's lore series that he's been going through, like villains and all sorts of stuff, and now he's probably maybe focusing on villains still. I don't want to spoil that, but it's moving into more neutral territory. So I'm interested to see where this series continues to go, and definitely another great job on the lore again this week.
All right, thank you, Iorgo, for your latest entry. And now we'll head into the question of the week.
Wait, we actually have a question of
Heather.
the week this week? What's going on with our show? We're
Ooh,
It's almost like
It's like
Sithith returned.
Yeah,
yes.
geez.
it's almost like this is timed for her to come back.
Almost.
Uh, so I had been saving this question for a couple of weeks, mainly because we had a lot of people missing for the recent episodes, and I thought this one was worth saving until then. So the question for this week is about when making characters in games, what genders you tend to make them, whether it's always the one you are yourself, or whether it's even the opposite, or just generally what sort of trend you tend to go with. So for the first question, Andang, when given the choice, do your characters' genders tend to mirror your own?
I always make guy characters, so yes.
Any particular reason you think that is?
Just because I feel like it's kind of creepy creating a girl character as a guy,
Okay.
just in general. Just like I know Spiders told me that she feels creepy about creating guy characters as a girl, like she did not want to create that dwarf character. But
Hmm.
then I told her, you can just make a female dwarf, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
doing this." So so I think that probably in a lot more Spridery voice. But anyway, I do think that it just for whatever reason I tend to just feel a little bit weird controlling when I have the choice. Now, if it's like a game where it's like the story where it's a girl character, for whatever reason, I don't have a problem with that. It's just when you're actually like creating a character, it feels weird to create like a girl character. I don't know.
Hmm. All right. Sithwith, what about you?
If given the chance to choose, yes, I play female characters because, well, a lot of the times you don't get to choose, and when you do, it's pretty
Hmm.
nice. Um, and a lot of the times when you don't get to choose, a lot of the time it's a guy character anyway, so that's not great. But so yeah, I usually play female characters. However, if the game has really bad female character models or really bad female character costumes, I will play male characters. So like if the animations for the female characters are really weird, or like if the game is the kind where if I play a female character, I will be wearing chainmail bikinis 100% of the
Yeah.
time, I will not play a female character because I'm
Rightfully
not into
so.
that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but sometimes I do like if I this I guess this really only applies to Lotro, although it hasn't happened in a while. But sometimes I will play like a male character if I have a specific kind of role playing story idea for a male character, but otherwise it's pretty much all the time female characters.
We already know the answer for Drac and Pineleaf, but I'll ask anyway, I guess. Drac, what's your
Y-
tendencies for this?
Apparently, I'm creepy.
Poor Drek.
Because I always create females.
Yeah, but it plays
And,
into the vampire thing. You need to, have like the women thing that you're trying to steal away or whatever as the vampire.
well,
Oh,
there's
that
that.
makes it better.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that makes it a lot less creepier.
Well, I never
No,
said it
basically,
made it less creepy. I just said that it was justified.
um,
Um,
basically, the main reason why I do it is I decided a long time ago when I started playing basically MMOs in other video games like RPGs. I started out, I always created males. And then for some reason, when I started playing MMOs, it was Guild Wars actually was the first one where I started doing female characters. I decided if I'm going to spend all that time playing and staring at an avatar, it's going to be a female and not a male. And I've just always created females after that.
Hmm.
And plus, it's kind of fun when I join a pug and I talk or something and people freak out.
Yeah, I know some people still think you're female.
Yeah, they do actually.
Probably some of our listeners just like got in a car wreck because they found out that that one character that they thought was a female was actually Draculetta on a female character. So
Hmm.
there's people that are scared now.
Yeah. And pardon you for again, we know the answer, but go ahead.
All right. In my case, I tend to go with what I think would feel right for the character. If I have a concept for a character, then I will go with that. In Lotro, though, one of the decisions I made is that when I finally set up my final cast of characters, was to make it as balanced as possible.
Mhm.
So therefore,
Hmm.
on the 9 classes that I have 4 of the classes I play male characters, 4 of the classes I play female characters, and
A
then of
dwarf.
course the remaining class is a dwarf.
Hmm.
So I have to decide what I'm going to do with the V-Orning.
So
Oh yeah,
your
there you go.
basis for deciding gender is pretty much mathematical.
It's Pine Leaf. Did you expect
Yeah.
anything different?
Yeah.
I
Part of me
guess
also
not.
comes up with sometimes I come up with a name, for example, and I decide the name feels more male or more female, so I go with that. For example, when I came up with the name for my warden, I came up with a female name, so therefore that's the reason
Wait,
why I chose female for my wardens.
Hmm.
so is Pine Leaf a girl's name then? Is that what you're saying? I'm confused.
Historically, I only know of one person who historically was called Pineleaf, and that was I found that out well after I created the character. And yes, she was a crow war chief.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 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 that. So yes, female and a war chief, which is you don't run into too many women who are war chiefs when you go through historical records.
No, that's cool.
Hmm.
Today we learned.
Yeah.
He learned us.
Mhm.
As Othellos would say.
Okay. So the next question is, well, in Lotro, I mean, you can be a hobbit, an elf, a dwarf, and even on Creepside, you can be orcs, wargs, and spiders, and God knows else what. Why do you think there's such a kind of squeamishness, maybe, or at least that kind of perception for playing in the opposite sex when people are so ready, usually, to be a completely different species? And do you think that's just should be a bad thing to begin with, whether it's just something you go, that's interesting, but it's not really a big deal? Go reverse then, I guess. Piney?
I think it's just a matter of someone's preferences. What do they like playing? Because let's face it, when you're playing a role-playing game, if you're going to go into it and spend a lot of time in it, you want to play with the character you're comfortable with and that you enjoy playing. Some people enjoy more playing the opposite role. Some people feel a lot more comfortable playing their own, and I don't think it should be a matter in either case.
Hmm. I'm just curious as to why, like, it's less awkward to play something that has two more legs than you than someone that's just happened to be a different gender, it's the same species. It's
Because
just
you're
like,
not, quote unquote, say cross dressing as something else.
Hmm.
You're doing fantasy. You're playing a spider. Or you're playing, a bear.
hmm.
So it doesn't matter if that bear is female because you're not cross-dressing as a female per se, or is what I would say most people would say.
Well, I think that when you're creating like some different like alien character, you want to be able to relate to that character a lot still because you're going to be stuck playing with it a lot. And I think that for a lot of people, it's easier to relate to like a male something than it is to relate to a female something else. And I think a lot of that's because of the way that culture creates stereotypes for genders and things like that, and just like historically how they've been more separated than they are now. I think a lot of that still lingers, but
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a fair comment. Anyone else have anything else to add?
Yeah, a little bit. So, really, I don't think there should be as much stigma as there is about playing characters of the opposite gender. Because, I mean, honestly, like, as a woman, I have to play, like, for a lot of story games and, like, RPGs where you don't get to choose gender, I have to play characters that aren't my gender a lot anyway. You don't get that option. So, it's
Yeah,
really not that weird.
I think that's a little
Like,
different though, because like when I'm playing like say Mirror's Edge for example, I just I could just consider that that's like a character or something like that, and like they make like female type comments and stuff like that that females typically in society would give, and I don't feel weird by that because I just feel like I'm playing that character. But in an MMO, I feel like at least for me, I try to create not like myself, but I try to create like
Projecting as if you are them, I
projecting as
suppose.
I am them as opposed to playing a character through their story. And so I think that it's kind of different in that aspect, I think, because of that reason, I guess. For me, at least.
Anything else to add? I guess not then. Now, if we're deciding that maybe there is a certain stigma and maybe we could reduce that somehow, maybe make it less troubling for people to deal with, how do you think we could maybe encourage people to maybe branch out in variety of how they create characters? Or in general, just break away from the trend of only making characters that are like you, in a sense? And then,
This is a tough question. Um, uh, how can branching out into the opposite gender be encouraged? That's really a tough question, and I think that that's kind of something that the developers have been struggling with as well, or they just don't think about it and try to create like as many options as they can. I think it's more a cultural thing than anything else. I think it's more a cultural barrier,
hmm,
um, as opposed to like a game developing barrier. I do think that LOTRO helps it out though, where they make the women not be like scantily clad and like stuff like that.
hmm
And I think for like a lot of married people and stuff like that, that makes it a lot easier to play a female character because you don't feel like as guilty or whatever if your morals are a certain way. And so I think that that could play into it a lot is trying to, make them be more equal as far as clothing options and things like that.
hmm,
Um, Outside of that, I can't really think of anything, for me at least.
yeah. Sithith, what do you think?
Um, well, one thing that immediately comes to mind is giving different. I mean, in an MMO like Lotro, it's harder. Although I guess, well, I mean, like Lotro specifically, it would be hard. But I know Star Wars: The Old Republic does it to a certain extent. Having the stories have slight different variations for different genders.
Mm.
Like for Star Wars: The Old Republic, you have different romancing options or whatever, and same with Mass Effect, you get different options to flirt with different people and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think different story variations would be a big way because I know a lot of people play games for the story. Obviously, a lot of us do. And so being able to experience a different story, I think, would give people an incentive to play other kinds of characters than they normally would.
I think in Lotro that would almost require creating something like a shield maiden, where you have to like break out of
I'm all for
what
that.
they're. I'm all for that too. But you have to kind of like break out of the cultural barriers and become what you want to be, type of a thing.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
I think
LOTRO's very
though that
structured on
that
class rather than.
I think though that that
Yeah.
doesn't really solve that, at least from like an MMO point of view, because you're limited to just creating a female then, uh, you know,
Mm.
Mm.
allegedly. So it doesn't really solve the issue because you're being forced into a thing for story. And so I think if
Right.
you're just
Well,
like at the general like creation screen and you have the choice for like same story, same everything, and you choose between male or female, I really do think that it's a cultural thing more than anything else, and there's no real way to beat it.
yeah. It's not something you can cure, but you can kind of
Nudge it.
treat the symptoms kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't even know if there's symptoms necessarily, because if you have the choice between male or female to create, and they're both represented well and stuff like that, kind of like in Lotro, and me personally wants to create a male, I don't see
Oh
how
yeah,
that's
I
an
wasn't trying
issue.
to say like, oh, it's a problem. I'm just saying like
Right, yeah.
the stigma kind of thing.
Yeah. That's kind of a much bigger problem than any
Mm-hmm.
one MMO or one
Definitely.
game can really
Yeah, it's a
solve.
cultural problem, I think, and just an industry problem in games, especially how they're depicted usually and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, it's not equal representation. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
Drac.
I can't think of anything else to add.
Oh, okay. Pine, if anything you'd like to add, or I
Nah,
think we've covered it.
I think we covered it all.
All right then. Um, Back to you then, Pine Leaf.
All right, very well. Now we'll head into donations. A big thanks to Sharon for a $10 or more donation to Lotro Players. And if you would like to help Lotro Players, simply go to the donation page where you can help support the podcast on Lotro Players and also help support the site. We have $5 and $10 mentions where you can donate and get a mention on one or all of our active podcasts for an episode depending on the amount. For $5, you get a mention on the podcast of your choice. For $10 or more, you get a mention on all of our active podcasts. And for feedback, we have no reviews this week, but if you would like to leave one on iTunes, we would appreciate your support. And now we'll head into featured comments. And we'll begin with one from Tim, who left a comment on last week's show. Ethros is definitely a good sport after the two stories. It does seem, though, that Pineleaf was made out to be the villain of that story.
Rightly so.
I also appreciate fan fiction getting some love. And even Ethros say great things about my series, but for fan fiction as a whole being portrayed just as strong as the Lotro News means a whole lot. To the whole Lotro News panel, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tim, for writing in and all the stuff you do. It's awesome.
Hmm.
And Amin here left a comment on Where's Tinky. That last one is diabolical. I know where Tinky is in the Pine Leaf Tier 2 picture, an alternate dimension bending both time and space.
Basically cheating.
So, as I said before, a response from Lily Kate was essentially that no, Tinky is in that picture and she did not cheat. And in fact, she added another version of it that was the original size so that you could look at it in the original size as if that's going to help you in the slightest.
Pineleaf, until we get those answers, and even then, I don't know if we truly know if Tinky will ever be in that picture or not.
Well, I
Knowing Lily
guess you do
Kate.
have a point with that. I suspect that one needs an electron scanning microscope in order to see Tinky in that picture.
I was gonna say a lie detector, but that was just me for Lily Kate. No, I don't know if I'm sure, but I'm guessing that Lily Kate probably really did have Tinky in there somewhere. It's just a matter of finding it. So
Completely behind a tree, right?
that's possible.
Hmm.
That's more than possible.
She's in the picture. She's just sitting in the water. So
Sitting
you
in the
can't see her.
water. Chat room saying TARDIS and all sorts of crazy stuff. So
Yeah, there are all sorts of weird. I take it then that no one has claimed to have found Tinky yet.
In here says that they had it zoomed in at 400% and found nothing. So, I don't know. I do think that sometimes though it can be harder at that close, but it just depends on the
Hmm.
image, I guess.
Especially when it gets all blurry and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
All right then. And we'll head into our emails, and we do have one from um, Amarthalian who sent us another origin story. And Sithrith, could you please read this?
Yes, this is my punishment because I've been gone for almost a month.
Athalros's
So
words. Athalros's
yeah,
words.
Thalros's words. So this is basically like, it's about 2 pages. So here we go. Hey, all, love the podcast and listen every week. Attached is an origin story which explains some of the reasons for certain behaviors. I will let the story do the talking. I hope you enjoy reading as much as I did writing. Keep up the good work. Christopher, aka Amarthalian, Captain on Landreval.
And we'll let Sithith do the talking. So here we
Yeah,
go.
so I feel obligated to contact you about a very important matter. First, a little bit of background as to who I am and what I am doing. You see, many years ago, I was approached by a young man who you know as Pineleaf Needles, but whose real name is omitted due to client confidentiality. This young man was troubled, for he was losing his ability to retain knowledge and he would constantly forget things. Needless to say, he was confused and did not know what was going on. At the time, I worked at a state-of-the-art facility. I am a psychotherapist and a robotics engineer by trade, which employed some of the most intelligent people in the nation. So we brought him there, and we ran tests on him. And as we ran these tests, as we probed the mind of this young man, we were quite concerned. For he had a rare disease that, up until this time, had never been observed outside the lab. We have since named this disease, oh boy, Altitis Wardenitis Seguitis. Therefore, we quarantined him, for he was feared that this for we feared that this disease would spread amongst the population, and there would be a mass loss of knowledge. We sought for years to deduce what was wrong, how we might cure this young man, and finally we developed a solution. We designed a robot that would help stimulate Pineleaf's memory, to help him recall those things which he had lost. And it began to work. The method this robot used was known as electronically elucidating yesterday's originally recalled events, which we reduced to the acronym E.E.Y.O.R.E, E.O.R.E. While we had
Yes.
great success with this program, in fact, it worked so well that Pineleaf began not only to recall his own memories but gain knowledge at an amazing rate. It was not without its issues. For instance, when Pineleaf came to us, he had already been heavily self-medicating with alcohol in an
Oh
effort to
my
calm his nervousness
gosh.
about losing his memory. We knew that we had to stop him from this downward spiral, as it was only reducing his already decreased memory capacity. So we sought the help of a world famous therapist who was able to replace keywords in the vocabulary with other keywords, and by this redirect harmful addiction. We decided to replace Pineleaf's addictive association for alcohol with the word squeamish. Unfortunately, the person we hired was not a native English speaker and thus could not properly pronounce the word squeamish. Instead, he said skirmish. Thus, Pineleaf's addiction for alcohol was replaced with an irresistible and unquenchable desire for the skirmish. This is why he ends your show with the phrase skirmish responsibly. Oh,
Oh.
okay. Oh, okay. We had another staff that we hired to program the emotional side of this robot, and he misread our instructions. We wanted this robot to be patterned after someone who is cheerful and would bring joy and positive thinking into the life of Pineleaf. But the person programming the emotional side of the robot saw the name Eeyore and thought we wanted the robot patterned after Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Unfortunately, this was too late in the coding process to catch, and thus our robot has a dour disposition. With these setbacks, we had to find another way to combat Pineleaf's memory loss. It had come to our attention that he loved to play video games and also loved the writings of J.R.R. Tolkien. Therefore, we approached Turbine and asked them to design a character that would require more than button mashing, but rather would require the memory to be fully engaged. At that particular time, Turbine was planning to release their Mines of Moria expansion, so they worked to develop the Warden class for our purposes. While it is not yet public knowledge, we are working with Turbine and the Bjorning class for those with body image issues. Wow. Okay. This worked marvelously and also fulfilled Pineleaf's obsession with the skirmish. See above. As Pineleaf slowly regained his memory, we allowed him to roam the facilities freely. He and Eeyore would daily walk the facilities, conversing about many different things. In our facility, not only did we work on humans, but we also had a great number of animals under study. One of our focuses was on seafaring mammals. Here we go. It was on one cool autumn day that Pineleaf and Eeyore, while taking a daily walk, came to the dolphin enclosure. And as they were walking, Eeyore told Pineleaf a hilarious joke, and Pineleaf broke out in laughter. In fact, he laughed so hard that he fell from the scaffolding above the dolphin tanks and into the water. These particular dolphins were part of an undercover operation to infiltrate the porpoise mind and transmit messages throughout the world. I don't even. Thus, when Pineleaf fell, his laugh was transmitted through our robust satellite network and into the minds of every dolphin on the planet. Pineleaf's laugh then became a catalyst to communicate with dolphins and porpoises. If you go to SeaWorld or some other aquarium, please do not let him laugh, or the dolphins will become highly agitated and might cause harm to those around them. Oh boy. Well, all this leads up to the fact and the purpose of my letter. It has come to my attention that this robot has escaped our facility and is at large on your show under the assumed name of Ethelros. Now, I do not believe that Pineleaf is yet aware of this, because that part of his memory was erased. You may have noticed that Eeyore, or Ethelros as you know him, is starting to wear down after long use, and is especially weaker when Pineleaf is not on the show. Therefore, I fear that Ethelros is on your show to glean his memory back from Pineleaf, for you see, these two are still mentally connected, and so I warn you, watch them, look over them, be careful, for these two are so intimately entwined that one without the other might possibly cease to be an entire being. Sincerely, Dr. A. That was intense. I don't even.
This is
That
the
was
one that
elaborate.
is probably farthest away from reality yet, I think. So great job, Emma Theron. Especially the fact that apparently Pineleaf's laugh controls dolphins.
That's
That
hilarious.
is hilarious. And also the skirmish way that Pineleaf became addicted to skirmishes. That's awesome.
Mm,
Oh, that was elaborate.
It was
that
very
was very
elaborate.
elaborate.
Like that took a
Ingenious.
lot of thought. A lot of thought.
A lot of time to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mouth hurts.
Let Piney finish off then.
Yes, very well. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your email. If you would like to send us a story or any other type of email, you can email us at lotraplayers.mymillearth@gmail.com, and you could also follow us at Twitter. You could follow the Players Alliance at Players Ally, Lotro Players at Lotro Players, Andang at PVMP_Andang, Braxwolf at Braxwolf, Sithrith at Sithrith, Draculetta at Draculetta_72, Etheros at Etheros, Lilykate at Lilykate Buggins, Mystery at Mystery XOX, and Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles. You can join us live for Lotro Players News each Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern at lotroplayers.com/live. And you can also join us on Landrival for the Lotro Players Adventures each Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That's United States Eastern Time. Thank you, everyone, for listening. That is all for tonight, and this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.